target based upon the problem statements and the different district priorities. Then even take that a step further by looking at the performance objectives and the strategies. And so as I was reviewing this, I took a look at the districts last year, the district's needs assessment, and then looked at the priority statements. And I thought about the fact that, the problem statements, and I thought about the fact that looking at the entire thing would be more than, be several meetings. Mm-hmm. So I thought about just looking at the problem statements, because when I looked at the district problem statements, there were several problem statements that were focused on a specific need. And so that's how I was able to isolate, okay, there are issues. For example, there were a lot of problem statements that were geared towards middle school. In addition to a lot of problem statements that were geared towards literacy in the 3rd grade. So what I decided to do, which is not notated here, after I looked at everything, I thought about, okay, let's isolate it and look at a specific problem and the problem statements around the specific problem. So I wanted to focus on the problems that were around middle school, and then even taking that a step further and then focusing on, there was a problem that was related to teacher retention for the middle school level. And so what I wanted to do was take a problem such as that, look at the goal that's aligned with that, to talk about the alignment, and maybe get suggestions about, maybe from the community partnerships, about how it can be even more aligned, how the goal can be even more aligned, possibly. And then even taking the performance objectives and the strategies to look at the alignment, and maybe look at some gaps and maybe suggest some next steps. Okay. And so that's pretty much what I have here. So my agenda, I put review of district's needs assessment, isolate one major problem of focus, analyze the district's goals regarding the problem for alignment, analyze the district's performance objectives and strategies concerning the problem, identify gaps and suggest strategies for improvement, and then list suggestions for campuses to align with meeting the goal. And then my last step was to develop how with the information, let's develop a protocol for campuses to use to meet the goal. Okay. So go ahead. I'm sorry. No, well, it sounds, the agenda, I can see it flows, okay. The thinking. I guess question that I have, when you look at the very first bullet, you said isolate one major problem of focus. So, and you mentioned several things here, like you mentioned teacher retention, you mentioned how they focus on middle school and 3rd grade. What is that one major problem of focus that you want to focus on? So the one major problem of focus is that there's issues along the 3rd grade period. Let me pull up the district's needs assessment, that way I can. And actually, I might have it downloaded, to be honest. Let me check and see if I have it downloaded. Maybe this is it. I think so. And I'm going to go to because there's a list of problem statements, and maybe, oh, here we go. Okay, let me maximize this. Do you still see my screen? Do you see the
Yes.
do you see the needs assessment?
No, I don't see the needs assessment. I
You
only
just
see
see the PowerPoint?
yes.
Okay, let me stop sharing that. Okay, I believe this is it. Okay, so when I look at the district, when I look at the problem statements, there were a lot of problem statements that were geared around middle school. For example, in grades 6 through 8, when compared to the state, gaps were reduced, but gaps remain greater than 5%, et cetera, et cetera. And then another one, if I look at problem statement number 7, so it was problem statement number 5. And then when I look at problem statement number 7, students in grades 6 to 8 score below the state. And then it has the root causes. There is not a consistent instructional model at the middle school level. That's what they named as the root cause for that. Problem statement number 5, root cause was inconsistent curriculum at the middle school level. And I think that there was 2 more, and it was around teachers and teachers retention. And let me also look at the goals, because the goals will actually tell us. Okay, so goal number 4. So if I look at goal number 4 for middle grades, it talks about the STAR results was mixed for reading, but relatively positive for math when compared to the state. And then in math, increases were evident for grades 6 to 8 for both approaches and meets when compared to the state. Okay, so when I look at the goals, that's what we have for the goals. And one of the goals and performance objectives was geared around retaining effective teachers for the instructional piece. And so what I would have them to do, so I would focus on the middle school problems, the middle school goals, and then look at the problem statements and strategies surrounding that. So even the review of, whether or not those goals are targeted enough, or whether or not the um, uh, performance objectives and the standards, the strategies are targeted enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, let me pull up, and then I'll pull up one of the goals, and then I show you. Okay, here we go. Let me get out of this and reshare my screen, because I pulled up Plan for Learning here. Okay, looking at the performance objective 1, student achievement on TEKS aligned assessments in reading and math. So that one is focused on student achievement. So let me stretch this out a little bit more and look at the strategy. Increase inclusion support through SPED facilitators. Provide additional guidance for honors. Expand the number of elementary schools offering 6th grade. Provide a comprehensive support system of support for new teachers, including mentoring and strategic professional development. So let's just say we decide to focus on strategy 4 for our protocol. to help build a protocol so that this particular strategy can be carried out.
Mm-hmm.
So we will focus on that one problem, look at this one goal, and then looking at this one goal, look at the alignment between the goal and the problem,
Mm-hmm.
suggest anything additional if necessary, and then also look at the performance objectives and the alignment and the action steps as far as the strategies, and possibly expand, suggest upgrades, and then choose one of these strategies to develop a protocol that could be used to ensure that this is taking place or this is happening.
Mm-hmm. I guess my question is, how specific do you need to be, or how broad do you need to be?
Um, there's not a standard of the specificity of the particular objective chosen in order to do the observation, the purpose chosen to do the observation. However, within the amount of time, I just wanted to make sure. So I guess, I mean, are you suggesting that maybe I should narrow it down even further?
No, I just think, well, I think I see it twofold. The narrowing it down to this specific level. I mean, this is our district improvement plan.
Right.
So even if you're talking to the superintendent, you can kind of talk about, where are the gaps, right?
Right.
Because even this, as I'm reading this, I mean, yeah, I see where they're going, but sometimes, like, why does that fit there, right?
Right. Right.
How is that tied to the goal that we're trying to achieve?
Right.
So I already see some misalignment
Right.
when you're reviewing that. So if someone's actually going back and really looking at it and saying, hey, I mean, you can offer some suggestions on how you can make it more aligned.
Okay.
But go back to the problem statement. Which problem statement? Because I guess you said several.
Yeah. So I just wanted to focus on that one problem statement that, let me go back to, let me see if it's on here.
I think it all begins with that. So let's look at the
Yes.
problem statement.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so we have a few problem statements that are related to middle school. So I guess I need to choose one. Okay, so this is the students in grade 6 to 8 score below the state.
Hmm?
Okay, the next one, there's a consistent enrollment decrease at the middle school grades. The next one, the gap between the district and the state results, but this is grades 3 through 8.
Mm-hmm.
There's a gap on both performance levels, approaches, and meets. The next one, so there are a lot of them that are focused on the middle school level, which is the reason why that kind of drew my attention. In grades 6 to 8, when compared to the state, gaps were reduced, but gaps remain greater than 5 percentage points for all grades at all levels, and that's at the middle. Good afternoon, everyone. We are here as a group and as a community to focus on our district needs assessment. And so the purpose of this is so that we can look at what our district has prioritized as problems for the district as a whole. These problems for the district as a whole takes into consideration all problems for all campuses. And what the district does, the district use those problems, figure out what the causes of those problems are, then takes it further to develop goals, and our campuses have to use those goals in order to generate a CIP based upon the CIP that the district has generated. Okay, and what I mean by CIP, I mean what? Campus improvement plan. Okay, so the district has to create an improvement plan, and based upon the district's improvement plan, campuses have to align their improvement plan with the district. So what we're going to do, we're going to focus on an analysis of what the district has prioritized as a problem that relates specifically to middle schools. So the district has a bunch of problems. There's probably 10 to 15 issues that has to be tackled in order to move students to the next level. There's no way in a small amount of time that we can analyze and tackle every problem. So what we're going to do, we're going to, as a community, tackle the problem, isolate one problem that is relevant to our community, which is the problem as it relates to middle school campuses. So present in this meeting, I have a whole lot of community partnerships who have come to join me so that they can give me the perspectives from their lens of what our problems are, their perspectives of how to tackle the problem, and then their perspectives of how to get our students to the next steps. So we're going to go around the room and let everyone introduce themselves. And we're going to start right over here.
I am Dr. Tiffany Gowdy. I'm an administrator.
I'm Tommy Nichols. I'm a community liaison.
I'm Tony Owens. I'm the owner of TO Enterprise.
I am Ashley Thomas, a teacher.
I'm Patricia Perry, an administrator.
I'm Cynthia Arsenault, a teacher.
I am co-pastor Mary Helen Ingram from Greater Deliverance Apostolic Church.
I am Bishop Ingram from Dallas, Texas.
I'm Pamela Apia Poku. I'm a special education teacher.
I'm Margaret Handy, parent of a student.
Racinda Ellis, an office manager.
I'm Shmitri Lee, counselor.
I'm Nicole Donahue, specialized instructional support.
Very good. So we want to thank all of you, and I'm going to take the time out to give you a hand. Y'all can clap for yourself for taking part in this task with me. I appreciate you for taking the time out of your busy schedules, and I appreciate your principal. I'm going to have to make sure that I let your principals know, for those of you who are from your campuses, participate in this, let your principals know that I really thank them for allowing you to be here with me on today. So what we're going to do, again, like we said, we're going to discuss the needs assessment. And again, the purpose of this is to isolate one of the problems, because the district has a lot of problems. We have a bunch of campuses. This is a large district. What do we have, like 200 and some thousand, 200 some campuses here in this district, okay? And about 150,000 students. Am I correct? In this district? So because of that, the district has to holistically isolate problems that exist across the board. We are going to focus on one problem, and that is the problem as it relates to middle schools. And I'm going to, in a few minutes, give you that specific problem in just a minute. But we're going to take that problem. We're going to look at the alignment. Because guess what? If the problem and the root causes are not aligned, then we're just hitting in the wind. If the root causes and the goals and the strategies and the objectives are not aligned in order to alleviate the problem, guess what? We're hitting in the wind. And so that is why each of you are here, because we don't want to have tunnel vision. We want to be able to look at the situation from everybody's perspective so that we can analyze, inform, and then also get from one step to the next. Okay? So, at your tables, At your tables, each of you have what is called a district needs assessment analysis. And hopefully I put enough at the tables, and if you could just grab that. It looks like this. And you can take it and you can look at it, and if you need more copies, I have more. That's right there. Okay, you guys need more up here. Okay, looking at this sheet. So the problem that we are going to isolate and focus. Okay, so I've already taken the problem off of the list that we're going to focus on. That problem, as stated by the district, is in grades 6 through 8. When compared to the state, gaps were reduced, but gaps remain greater than 5% points for all grades at all performance levels. Let me break that down. So what that means is this. When, after the students took the STAR test, okay, our district compared 6th, 7th, and 8th grade student performance to the state overall performance. Okay, and there was a gap. At least 5 percentage points, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Okay? Meaning that the district was scoring less than the state. At least 5 percentage points. Okay? Everybody follow me? Okay, so this is what the district said the root cause was. The first root cause was inconsistent curriculum. The second root cause was middle school master schedule and structure issues. And the third root cause was lack of specific middle school professional development, and they put / learning to build consistent teacher retention at middle grades. Okay? Everybody follow me? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna stop right there. Okay, we're gonna pause right there. So you guys have a task sheet in the middle of your table. I just put one because I want one person to take the lead, volunteer to be the leader in order to just scribe. You're gonna be the scribe. You're gonna read it and you're gonna scribe. I'm gonna give you about 10 seconds to figure out who's going to be the leader. And then if you can decide, then I will assist. I will assist. I will assist. So your task is just to write responses and read. Okay? Now, so raise your hand in the room if you're that person. Raise your hand in the room if you're that person. We're going to read the questions for task 1. So this is going to be our first task. Read the questions for task 1. And you're going to write the responses of people in your group. Okay? So this is the opportunity for you guys to talk in your group. Okay? So for task 1, what it says is, it's the analysis of the problem statement and the root cause. What I want you guys to do is to look at what the district has identified as the problem. Look at the root causes of the problem and see if it aligns. Like, what those root causes actually stem from that problem? Does it make sense that, for example, inconsistent curriculum? Would inconsistent curriculum stem from that problem, or make that a problem? Okay? That's a yes or no thing. Okay? Then explain why do you think so. Then you go to the next question. Is each root cause specific enough? And that's why I have different people in your group, because the different people can kind of speak from their perspective and kind of help. Okay? And then, do you have any suggestions for upgrade? If you don't think it's specific enough, do you have suggestions of how it can be more specific? Or if you feel like there should be other root causes that are more important, what suggestions do you have? Does everybody understand that first task? Okay, guess what? I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. 5 minutes. So let's go through that in your group. And so this is responses, and that's right there. Okay. Go on to the next because we want to get delve into the meat of it. Okay, so we'll start over here with this group over here on this side. What suggestions, if any, do you guys have for upgrades?
So a couple of things we said was more teacher autonomy, and the other was less class time. We kind of differ on that. So some feel more class time works, some less class time. So it's kind of just figuring out what is the appropriate amount of.
So you're saying more teacher autonomy should be one of the root causes of the gap?
Not one of the root causes. It ties into the root cause of the curriculum, the inconsistent curriculum.
Okay, so if it ties into how can we address it though? Like, would it be addressed as another problem, or would it be addressed as a root cause?
Root cause. It would be addressed as a root cause.
And so, do you think that root cause would directly impact this gap?
Yes.
Okay, so you feel like more teacher autonomy would directly impact this gap, and what was the other thing that you said?
Less class time.
The class time. So the class time directly impacts whether it's more or less that's needed. That's up for discussion. We'll figure that out later. But the class time definitely. So the class time ties in with the curriculum.
Yes.
So you're saying that root cause needs to be more specific instead of saying inconsistent curriculum?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So more specific to what? More specific to what?
What's considered inconsistent about the curriculum? Like, be more specific.
Okay. So let me kind of answer that particular question for you, and I agree with what you're saying.
You just have to go with it.
Okay, so everyone saw how we went through that first task. So I stopped you so that we can go through it to ensure that everyone understood how to go through each task. So you have your person at your table who's reading the task questions and the scribe. So what I need for you to do is to do the same thing we just did. You have tasks 2 through 5. That you should be able to complete in 20 minutes. Those tasks are taking you through each process of ensuring the alignment of the district stated goal with what the district has identified as the problem. Also, ensuring the alignment of the performance objectives and the strategies that the district has outlined so that they can tackle the problem and the root cause. Ensuring the alignment. So what you're going to do, again, you're going to take that information from this district needs assessment analysis, and you're going to answer these task questions. Now, you're not going to answer the task questions for every performance objective when you get to that point, right? As you read, it'll tell you when to analyze the performance objective. Each of you are assigned a performance objective. This table, you will focus on performance objective 1. You guys will focus on performance objective 2, and then you guys will focus on 3. And so we're going to give you 20 minutes to go through tasks 2 through 5. All minds clear? Yeah. Okay. Very good.
Analysis of root cause to goal. Says questions to consider: is the goal aligned to each root cause? Is the goal specific enough? And suggestions for upgrades. So now we're looking at goal 4. The second little column here.
Here, right?
So yes, that's for the next task. Yeah, so this one is for the goal and the next
So basically, will this goal that the district decided to do, would it alleviate those
Say yes, but the goal is very, it's very vague. So
So since that goal is vague, so basically, so you're saying that because it's so vague, you don't know if it's aligned.
right.
So, okay, maybe, let's look at it from this lens. Inconsistent curriculum, master schedule, and what is this, professional development and retention. Okay, our goal from this problem and this root state, this root cause, our goal is to, at the middle school grade, okay, middle grade student achievement, on-state assessments in all subjects in domain 1 will increase. So our goal overall is to increase performance based upon this gap. But you also may want to look at from this stance. Just because our performance increased doesn't mean that it's closing the gap.
Exactly right.
Because I've seen it.
So going back to what you said, it's so what you say vague. Okay, so just put that. So it's too vague for us to figure out whether or not it's aligned, right? That's what you're saying.
Goal is not specific enough. Cause it's just kind of like a boom boom. It didn't give like any.
And so just put a note right there. And then so what would be your suggestion for upgrade? So what elements does that goal need from your perspective in order to make sure it addresses?
I think it would need to address specifically how I know the objective is how you achieve the goal, but
right, and so it may be that there may be a thought that you may need to table because those objectives may be focused on so then you can go back and say, well, not because you have your broad objectives. And the way your objectives are made specific is through your performance objectives. Then you can, when you look at the performance objectives and the strategies, then you can go back and say, okay, this goal will address it or this goal won't address it. Okay?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
So that will have to
We think it's a line? Okay. Yes. Explain. So we're already saying, for one.
So we not doing.
So what do you guys think?
So we're looking at this and saying the root cause has impact on this goal. Can impact on this goal. That's what we're discussing.
Right. Or will the goal have an impact on
The root cause.
So having a schedule and
And so that isn't nothing really deep, that can just be a basic yes.
development.
Yeah.
Eighth grade.
Okay, and then you guys can go on to the next one.
And then we talked about,
Yes, it does.
you know, especially at the retention level.
So now we're moving on to performance objective 2.
Student achievement.
Okay, you guys have 15 minutes, so you don't want to linger too long on one task. You don't want to linger too long on one task. 15 minutes.
I think we're, 4. Task 3 is for performance objective 1, task 4 is 2, and task 5 is performance objective 3.
So
But our focus is performance objective 2.
Do we fill it out for all?
We're only doing 2 of those.
Oh, so we're filling out all 3 sections. Okay, so task 3, it says, which performance objective will you focus on? 2. Yes. And then it asks, is the performance objective goal aligned to, performance objective aligned to the goal? Two.
Number two?
Yes.
Certain guidance for honors.
So did it help?
African
Did it help to look at
American
the
student
performance
achievement.
objective to see whether or not that goal is?
It is, cause they gave more, well, it's still in there, like, the objective is still not specific enough.
Okay.
But it does give strategies on how they plan to get, how they plan to.
And
get
so
that.
what upgrades do you suggest with this objective? Because in order for us to figure out strategies, we're gonna have to make sure we target what our objective is gonna be. And so in order for us to figure out what strategies, in order to alleviate these root causes, we have to know. So this right here, so this is broad. This has to be specific enough so we'll know what our next steps will be. So what suggestions, like what does it have that you feel like you need for it to have the amount of growth?
For me, the objective is fine. Yes. I think the objectives is fine because then you're gonna break it down in strategies. Of how
So you think you need to add more strategies in?
Up to me, we might. Because I hadn't really read through the strategies.
Okay.
So, but just looking at the objective, I don't have an issue with the objective.
Okay.
It has a time frame, it has everything, tells you what your goal, where you're going, tells you what your the expectation, how many you're trying to get there. So for me, that one is fine.
Okay.
So then it is one.
What was the last question on test?
So that was by 16%.
For that objective, I really
So
think.
they're aligned to both, they need one in both.
English scores already 74%. They
goal.
be higher.
So we.
I mean, they're already saying they're from 40.
44. Oh, this ain't 40%.
Well, this is the same, this is where we are, first 6 to 8 grade, home state assessments and all our subjects.
28
And now, little guy, 20.
This right here is inclusive of all students. This right here is just specific to African American students, because apparently African American students, in order to meet this goal,
It increases every
the African American students have to come up to this.
The previous year was from 40 to 50, it was from something else.
Oh, okay.
And it's been moved back.
Which also, just looking at this, it denotes a gap, because this is where you're trying to go to. So obviously, the other student groups are much higher.
You ready to tell them, right, the notebook. Is the goal specific enough? What did we say? Yes. If not, we have a suggestion regarding that.
If we're saying it is, we should have.
Are we
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's
You guys have 10 minutes, you have 10 minutes, you have 10 minutes.
Increase that, right?
It says it's strategy aligned to the performance.
You guys should be on task 3, should be on task 3, should be on task 3.
Performance objective.
Okay, we're on task 3.
So we're talking about, are the strategies aligned to performance objective, right? For African American students, that's what it's asking. So,
Oh, no, wait.
so strategy one says inclusion support through SPED facilitator.
Okay.
Provide additional guidance on learners on the program, off-ramp, and the system of support, expand the number of. So,
Okay, let's see.
how would this
Student achievement on
the percentage of our African American students
You mean the offering sixth grade?
by using these, this is what we're looking at, these strategies, right? We're trying to see if these strategies are aligned to this, right? So do we see an alignment if these things
Happen.
occur? Will our African American students,
What's the
can
question?
we increase their assessment goals here?
Do y'all believe that because it also
do we see
says
that as
by
being
domain, which is achievement?
Expand the number of elementary schools might, because it makes the classrooms smaller.
Middle of.
I can see that.
And we
'cause
all
moving-
agree that our African American students need a small student to
Yes.
ratio.
They do.
What about this SPED?
Increase inclusion, yes,
Yes.
because a lot of our
Very classified as special.
classified as special,
Yes.
so yes, that would have an
What about
impact.
this number 2, provide additional guidance for honors, on ramps, off ramps, and systems of support?
I don't.
The only, it's a line. Do they ask
Will that
The
increase?
provider.
I think it would increase because the teacher gets more,
Support?
yeah, support.
But it is, data shows that there's a low percentage of African American students who are classified.
Honors, yes.
So, but it says provide additional guidance for honors.
Oh,
So that
okay, so
guidance-
change the guidelines on how you can get into honors.
Right.
Oh, that's what the on-ramp is. Okay, okay, okay.
Is specific enough.
Okay.
Because I think that, you know, just looking at the students that are in honors,
Yeah, I guess the only question I
higher, just being in honors.
Yes, yes.
It's just a
Yes.
mentality thing.
Mindset.
Yes.
Just being in honors. So yeah,
because it
see,
says
that could have an
on
impact.
state assessments in all subjects in domain 1. And this one says state assessments.
Oh, highly
Math,
effective.
6 grade, 6 grade. When do we
Yes.
deal with,
Yes,
um,
that would have an impact
on
a lot,
Yes.
especially if you're attracting highly effective,
in all subjects?
highly
Because
effective.
now we're only doing grade in math, and this specific say grade 6 to 8 on state assessments in all subjects. We should also include
So are all of these strategies stated the way they need to be stated? Do we need any specificity in these strategies? Or would y'all add something else? Add something else? What else would be needed in order to make sure we improve the performance of this particular population?
they include all subjects.
Okay, you guys, you should be moving to task 4 if you have not already.
And all subjects. Okay. Yes, I know. Is each aligned to the what? Mentorship for African American students support. How does that align to the mentorship program? Well, this is a performance date. I'm talking about strategy.
I think it is one.
I feel like I've been on the merry-go-round.
The last one is, does each strategy address the root cause and suggestions for upgrade?
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's the root cause, so it's tying it back to this consistent curriculum and
So inclusion.
The root cause
That's
is
the teacher, so that's not.
so does increased inclusion support through SPED, does that align or address inconsistent curriculum?
Okay, you have about 7 minutes. You have about 7 minutes. It's gonna be very important for you to finish up task 5. It's gonna be very important for, by the end of the 7 minutes, we will have all finished task 5.
Explain.
Just
I ain't even got the 3, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
right.
I know. I'm saying, okay, what's the question?
Is each strategy aligned to the performance?
Is student achievement, teach spine assessment,
That one
reading,
ties
math.
directly
To
to
the lack of.
our teacher retention.
I don't know enough about what y'all.
Yeah,
y'all
you
know.
don't see it's aligned.
I mean, it's obviously it's a line. Because remember when y'all explained it to me about the teachers, the one teacher that does the inclusion piece, right? That one teacher. So the one teacher is, I don't know, but that's a person.
So alignment means that if it's gonna support and help the situation, if it's directly, it's a direct support, is gonna directly resolve
Even if it's one person, you know, if you can just
or
add one.
impact. Directly impact, will it directly impact?
We ain't
So-
saying nothing about effective. But we hope. a lot though.
And then that next year I was on my own.
Yeah.
Okay, more money to them too. Is that on the list? A bonus on the list?
I was gonna put that down as an upgrade.
But that's a good point.
We say that's a line. Let's go get them a line.
So each, yes, that's
Or we could say no and say it for those reasons why.
If all are
And then-
if all are aligned, then you don't have to put
Right.
targeted and yeah. You still would have to, it's because if y'all feel that something else needs to be said, if you feel like there has to be something that's missing, there has to be another strategy, then you still want to put suggested upgrades. So that would all still be aligned, but what else is needed?
So what's the likelihood of how many teachers would it?
It don't even matter.
It don't even matter.
You know?
Is it gonna help it, yes or no?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if we say no, we say why. We say why, we say what we suggest and make it feasible. Or just say yes and no.
Just say yes.
You can just say yes, but still, it sounds like from your discussion, you guys are fishing for something else. There's something missing. What's missing? What do you feel
My
is
thing
missing?
is, I think it's more about even a teacher, especially when we're talking about this achievement and we talk about this lack of specific professional development. Because the included teacher is still only providing like 30 minutes support to the kid only 2 times a week.
We're gonna talk about that together. That way we won't have to worry about, yeah.
Pretty suggestions.
It's cold.
We need you to tell whoever
Based on our kids.
But I was just gonna.
We're gonna try to mimic it all the way.
Well, we think you're
Okay, everyone. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna go around and we're gonna talk about what we have come up with as a group. Okay, and we're just gonna summarize it in a nutshell. You do not have to go through every bullet. You do not have to go through every bullet. But what we would like to know is, based upon your performance objective, what are the highlights? Are there any additions? Everyone has the copy, so you can follow along. You don't have to read every strategy. If the strategies are aligned, they're great as is, no upgrades. If there are some upgrades, if it's something that needs to be more specific to what? What would you like for it to say, or what should be added to make it more specific? Okay, you don't have to necessarily come up with the exact statement, but what you feel is missing. Okay, so we're going to start with performance objective 1. Your group that had performance objective 1. Who wants to speak? Y'all point at each other. So both of you can tell. So your performance objective that you analyzed.
Yes.
Was it aligned? Will it ensure that those root causes and their problem statement are addressed?
We generally believe that it is aligned.
Very good. So it's aligned. Was there anything missing that you feel like needed to be there? I know you did because I heard the conversation.
Okay, so if we had to say one upgrade to this, we as in me and we would say that on the strategy 1 where it talks about increased inclusion support through SPED facilitators, we're not sure that that is a straight line to student achievement on TEKS aligned assessments, especially since the onus is on the teacher of record to provide the support to those students in the room. And we know we are to ensure that all students have that opportunity to achieve at the highest level. And so we would say that there should be some language in here where the teacher receives more support and mentoring and training specifically around supporting our students who are receiving SPED services.
Right. Because again, like you said, the ownership is on the teacher, and that's a misconception. The teachers think that the ownership is on the inclusion teacher, but the inclusion teacher is supposed to support the teacher.
Yes.
Amen.
And then the only other one that we say they're generally aligned is our performance objective specifically says student achievement on TEKS aligned assessments in reading and math grades 6 through 8 and using the projected domain 1 calculation will increase from 36 to 46% by middle of the year 2024-25. However, the district goal is middle grade student achievement grades 6 through 8 on state assessments in all subjects in domain 1. And then ours specifically just talk about math and reading. We have domain 1 for science and social studies. And if we then do not take a look at a progress monitoring piece at mid of the year, then we take our eye off the ball for those subjects as well.
So it should include
all subjects.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, performance objective 2. So that you guys look at your performance objective and figure that your performance objective will address the problem and the root causes.
Well, we said yes, but then of course when Dr. Gowdy talked about the SPED facilitator, yes, that makes a huge difference as well. And
so that just focusing on the performance objective by itself.
yeah, the performance objective by itself.
Okay, so now we can talk about, I mean, you had something else you want to say about the performance objective? I was going to say, so the performance objective by itself will address the problem and the root causes. Okay, so now let's look at the strategies that the district has identified. Will those strategies address the problem?
We had said yes, but again, it needs to be more specific about what it was talking about. Again, I agree with what Dr. Gowdy said about strategy 1.
Specifically the SPED.
When she said SPED facilitator, it again, it's not just a SPED facilitator. It talks about the teacher. It should address the teacher because it puts it back on the teacher. We were talking about strategy 3, expand the number of elementary schools offering 6th grade. So we said that we thought that would help increase that percentage for African American students because it would make the classes smaller. We looked at a way that might be able to, if we offered 6th grade through elementary through 6th grade, then maybe the teacher ratio might be smaller for African American students.
So looking at that, because we were talking about that earlier, and as I'm reading that now and thinking about it, the student teacher ratio is the student teacher ratio. So if you expand it, so what they're saying from here is, from this thing is just moving 6th grade from middle school and putting them back in elementary school. Which means that the same number of teachers that I have for my 6th grade population will be the same number of teachers that they will have. That number will just move to the elementary. So the class sizes will be the same. It won't be a smaller class size. They're just saying put them in an elementary setting instead of putting them in the middle school setting. So will that address
the gap?
The gap. No. If you're not adjusting, in my opinion, the student-teacher ratio, like what would be the point of it?
Exactly.
Or just anything
I don't know.
else.
Or just anything else.
I think we also in our district have done that, and some campuses in those elementary schools are now Fs.
Putting them back in 6th grade.
Yeah.
What do you
now,
think?
in my opinion, they need to be back in 6th grade.
It's not the
But
class
does this
size.
address this? But does this address this? So it was, so when we were initially looking at it, I'm thinking that they're gonna add additional school. They're not adding additional schools. They are just shifting sixth grade back to elementary because I don't know how long you guys have been with the district, but sixth grade used to be with elementary, and then they moved into middle.
Yeah. So that really would not,
Yeah, so unless they make adjustments to student-teacher ratio and additional support.
additional support, yes.
And connection.
And connections.
Okay.
So that one, are we saying that it is aligned directly or it's not aligned?
We're saying that. No.
Okay, so strategy 3 is not aligned. Okay. Anything else for your performance objective?
No, because when we looked at strategies 4 and 5, we think that would be, especially 4 and 5, would be aligned more with the lack of professional development.
Okay.
And building the assistant teacher retention. So yes, we see those as aligned.
Okay, very good, very good. Now let's go to our performance objective number 3. So did you guys feel like that specific performance objective as stated would impact the problem statement and the root causes identified?
The performance objectives, yes, but I say that and then the guy said something about that it states all subjects, and then realizing that this objective also only addresses reading and math, so it doesn't address all subjects. So that does need to be adapted. As far as the strategies, again, we said the strategies need to be a little bit more specific. Like it talks about providing a new curriculum to middle school. What exactly what new are you looking for? So kind of just being more specific about what type of curriculum do you see the middle schools need now versus what they already have. And like you said, they've already given you amplified, additional, so you're saying you still need something on top of that. So that just debate this.
So let me clarify that. This particular, so our needs assessment for the upcoming year is not done yet. So we're making suggestions for the upcoming year. So this was the needs assessment from last year that supports this year, right? And so this needs assessment from last year that supports this year. So this particular needs assessment from last year that supports this year. So they have already implemented, so the Amplify and the Carnegie was their attempt to implement the new curriculum. So then what's the next step? What else is needed?
Intervention.
Intervention.
Consistent intervention.
Consistent intervention.
Curricula. I just say.
Anything else?
I think we interpret, well, now y'all's was different. The change middle school model to K through 6. So when we looked at that, we were looking at it from the perspective of changing it like in elementary, K through 6, they have where you go to different teachers, but it's the same group of students that travel together. Whereas ours is a different mixture of students that may go to this teacher, that teacher. And so if following that model, that actually would help with, even with teachers being able to collaborate together about, hey, I got this group of students, you got this group of students. I'm seeing these struggles, you're seeing these struggles, so they would be able to collaborate more.
Cohort.
And that would help close that
So
gap.
your suggestion is for them to rethink their lens of a K-6 model, not the K-6 model of just putting 6th grade to elementary, but the model of the scheduling as well,
Yes.
having cohorts.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what the strategy is. That's what the research is.
Okay, anything additional? Okay, so very good. Ooh, we making some progress and some suggestions. Very good. Okay, so our last and final thing, we're gonna do this together. Okay, I put a sample protocol on your table. Protocol is a step-by-step process on how to do something specific, right? And so with listening to your conversations thinking about prioritizing what out of all the things that we've discussed, what do we really need a strong protocol for? So the districts, so they can have clear communication to the campuses, so the campuses can really be in alignment with the expectations. Instead of just saying, hey, here are our goals, here are our priority statements, here are our strategies, develop your stuff, figure it out. Okay? What would be a need? A specific need of communication. From my mind, I'm thinking of one. There's a specific need of how to implement the new curriculum. So it can be high quality. Instead of everybody trying to figure it out, and then midway, okay, well now you guys can piece it together.
Yeah, it don't work.
You know what I'm saying? Initially, it was you have to do every single thing. Then, now you can piece it together. You know, that type of stuff. You know, even though with that, we still should have autonomy to add what we need to add and tweak what we need to tweak. Okay? So that definitely needs to be a protocol.
From a viable curriculum.
Right, from a viable,
High quality resource.
high quality resource. Dr. Gowdy is trying to make sure she emphasizes that. Then also, I heard you guys say that these performance objectives are focused on math and reading, and they're not focused on all subjects. There definitely needs to be a protocol to ensure that our strategies on each campus, everything is focused on all subjects. There also needs to be a protocol in which, okay, we're talking about closing this gap, but how do we ensure that this curriculum that we have identified and these strategies for implementing this curriculum, how do we ensure that every single campus is doing this for them? So I threw out about 3 or 4 things. So what we want to do is to think about what can be a general protocol. We can add specifics later. We're just offering suggestions, right? We're just offering suggestions. If they want, you know, either of us to be on the committee to, you know, add additional, you know, information, we'll be more than happy. I know Dr. Gowdy will, because she wants that high quality, viable curriculum, right? So, looking at your sample protocol, is this just a sample protocol? And it ain't even on the subject that we're talking about. What do y'all think we need to make suggest a protocol for? Where are we most lost on the campuses of the expectations of the district? I already hear y'all saying most things, but let's identify something. Where are we most lost? And we definitely need a protocol from the district of how to implement. Are we most lost from the implementation of the curriculum? And we're talking about across the district. Are we most lost? And when I say implementation of curriculum, I'm talking about here with Fidelity. Are we most lost with how to implement the curriculum?
I would like to offer a suggestion.
Okay.
I think the protocol, especially as I look at the root cause and then I look at maybe the strategy for my performance objectives, a couple of them, as we think about the lack of specific
middle school professional development, learn to build consistent teacher retention at middle grades. Because I think if we tackle that, we hit the curriculum, we hit the support, providing support in professional development when teachers are coming into challenges with students who may have special needs. Because I do believe when teachers don't know how to do any of those, right, then there would be in any industry, do not want to stay. And so knowing how to do something well, because they feel supported, not that we're giving them support, but they feel the support, right, that looks like, is I think if we start there, it may encompass curriculum, encompass SPED, it encompass the honors, also in performance objective talked about a mentoring program. It encompasses those items if we start there, because we know what research will tell us, one of the most important factors in student achievement are teachers.
Right.
And they're high quality, effective teachers. And if we don't take care of that, then it goes for naught for curriculum and anything else.
Okay. That does work. Okay. Absolutely correct.
So, this is what I want you to do. I'm gonna give you 5 minutes. Actually, less than 5 minutes. I'm gonna give you 3 minutes. No, I'm gonna give you 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes in your groups to come up with about 3 things that you feel like will be steps towards ensuring a high quality professional development program for the district. 3 things. 3 things that you think need to happen in the district to ensure a high quality professional development.
For the curriculum that we use, we have a professional development, the creators of the curriculum, they give you training, they show you how to implement step by step. The people that created the curriculum come out to your classroom, show you how to work with all of your different students. So if that could be transferred, I mean, we do it in SPED, if that could be transferred to the general education classroom, this is what the curriculum is. They'll monitor how our students are progressing in it. They monitor how often are we using it. And if the teachers aren't using it, then I'm sure that they could, conclude it's probably not effective, or why are the teachers not using it? So, and the teachers that are using it effectively, they'll ask, can you go to this teacher's class, train them, show them how do you implement it in your class, what does it look like, how do you apply different aspects of it to the various students in your class. So that's in the specialized programs, but that could very easily be transferred to
You guys have 1 more minute for your discussion. 1 more minute for your discussion.
Even though we don't have, we always talk about like trades, and it's like a one offer, right? It needs to be something that is on their that's why I think
they've had to support all the trainings.
So that is a comprehensive plan.
Yes.
That's right. District, but like you said, district development, professional development plan, comprehensive, plan for all teachers and
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Bring this back to the whole group. This group over here, give me one of the things on your list. One thing that you said that needs to be implemented in order to ensure a high quality professional development plan for the district.
So, go ahead. Go ahead.
So, and I think we talked about this before, but on the special education side of professional development at the very beginning with expectations and how, and just helping the teachers to understand special education, how it works, what their part is, what our part is. Cause I know it's been a lot of, mix up with that as far as even like with student grades and things like that, and how to implement, how to actually go through the IEPs and understand what each student needs are.
And so you're saying at the very beginning
of the school year.
with that, and so, and that's it, PD, that outlines specifics for SPED and slash, with roles and responsibilities.
Yes.
That's it? Okay, and that's the very beginning and you're done.
Well, no, not saying that this is gonna be it, but I'm just saying, cause I know we, and then you know we get a lot of new teachers, like brand new teachers that don't even know what an IEP is.
So you
So
mean
just-
like maybe differentiated, maybe a differentiated PD?
So like at the very beginning, whoever's here and hired at that point, everyone will get that training at the, when, before school starts.
Like the district actually used to do.
But we
They
used to,
used to
yeah,
do
it
that
used to
long
be that
time
way.
ago.
Yes.
And
The
then
PSYOP trainings that we used to get a long time
And
ago.
as new teachers come, they have a day of professional development before they begin. So that they get that same training, but they have a day specific for, here's what you need to know.
So revamping, because they actually do have their, at the beginning, all new teachers have to go to professional development before everybody else, but they need to have it specifically added for this. Okay.
And they're saying also the ones that say, for instance, they was not here when school started again in August.
Maybe
Say
came
you
in
got
October.
hired in December, we planned a specific one just for those teachers that came in from August to December, so you'll have another PD training to learn those specifics.
I'm gonna say, thinking about what y'all are saying, and Dr. Gowdy and I was in a meeting on yesterday, and actually I have reiterated this every time we have to have one of those meetings. LPAC, they have a training for every phase of the year. It's not like a one size fit all or one hitter quitter. You give all of the information all at the beginning of the year, and then that's it, and we'll support you and reach out. Every phase of the year, what needs to be, what's due at each phase of the year and how to do it. They will have a meeting at the beginning. They're not telling you everything that needs to happen. They'll give you like an overview, but the meeting is relevant. The PowerPoint outlines every single thing, has a how-to, everything. Then, pretty much you can follow the PowerPoints and figure it out, right? But also, if you have issues, there's a coordinator that each person can call. I love it. Because if you're lost because you want to be.
Yes.
Right? So maybe something similar to that for SPED, especially since there's so many components. Maybe? No? Yes?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, because I think like even with the department, we get updates throughout the year department wise, but it doesn't necessarily apply to the teachers.
So you're talking about all teachers in general, not just your inclusion teachers, but
Right.
everybody.
It's
Everybody.
that part
So
of it.
that okay, so that the teachers would know their role.
And how to look at an IEP and how to break it, like we used to do before, we used to break it down,
Gotcha.
like in,
Gotcha.
yes.
Okay. This group right here, give me one of the things you have on your list.
We talked mostly on the professional development. I was highlighting how in a centralized unit, they have individuals who create the curriculum that come out, they train the teachers, it's like an all-day thing. They'll come out to your classrooms, work hands-on with the kids that you actually have in there, so you can see exactly what does it look like implemented in a real-life classroom, not just seeing someone run through a PowerPoint. And we're saying that that could be possibly effective if it could transfer over to the general education.
So creators of the curriculum train teachers and co-teach, so that the teachers can see the implementation goes. Okay. Okay. We got a list.
Sorry.
Give me one on your list.
Oh, can you just
about creating a district comprehensive system of ongoing professional development throughout the year. That's for all teachers. That also would include mentoring program incentives as well that could go into their summative. And then, as we talked about, partnerships with university and colleges and other organizations as part of that. But being able to track the implementation of those skills learned in professional development by a see it, name it, do it model, which the district has come into, because we're talking about do it, and we want to know the level of confidence that you can do the skill that you have learned, and you're able to implement that, and they can possibly do that through incorporating AI into where you can record yourself. AI can give you feedback on it, and as it becomes a portfolio, and you can continuously be coached on all of these trainings that you are to be participating in throughout the entire year.
And thinking about what you're talking about, the district actually, see, it's a lot of things. So when we change leaders, sometimes we throw the baby out with the bathwater. We used to have, I forgot what that organization was years ago, used to come in, give us a model, coaching model, but then would also coach us in the classroom, record us, let us look at ourselves, sit down and give us feedback, let us come up with, okay, where were the gaps in our instruction, and then redo. And it was a phase throughout the year.
Because that's best practices in
right
as it relates to adult training.
Right. And so we used to have that program in order to do that. And so what I'm going to do is your list, the rest of your list, we're going to take them and I'm going to compile it. And the information that we've collected, I am going to make sure that district representatives have the information that we have compiled, and hopefully the suggestions that you guys have made that will take into consideration in this. Okay? I am going to end our meeting by thanking every last one of you for your participation and for taking out your time to assist with this endeavor. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I think it was a great meeting.
You think it was a great meeting?
Thank you for inviting us.
I really appreciate the invite, yes.
Okay. And so can you expound upon why you feel like it was great?
I think we got like a lot accomplished, like getting different opinions on how we feel about different things when it comes to the district. So being able to address how we feel about it.
Very good. Anything else you'd like to add or good? Okay. If nothing else, we want to appreciate everybody, and I'm going to clap for you, and you clap for your neighbors and your partners who assisted you. We want to thank everybody, and before you leave, grab some more food, please.
Everybody sign in.
And please sign in. Okay. Thank you. So just to kind of give you a debriefing of the meeting and that you know how it went great. We had various stakeholders. We had church members there that are church pastors within the community. We had parents, we had teachers, we had counselors. We also had a business owner there at our meeting as we were analyzing the district's improvement plan. And again, the focus for the improvement plan was the problem statement that stated in grades level 6 through 8, when compared to the state, gaps were reduced, but gaps remain greater than 5 percentage points for all grades at all performance levels. And so as they went through the analysis of the problem statement, the root cause, the goals, and the objectives and strategies, they, in some cases, they were saying that for the most part, they were aligned, but they lacked specificity. And so when I look at each individual root cause separately, the first root cause was inconsistent curriculum, and they said that was aligned, but it was still
no uniformity, even though, as you and I were talking about prior to the meeting session, even though the district has mandated specific curriculum for reading and for math, there's still it still lacks uniformity across the district. So that would be a first step. So the suggestion was on this upcoming improvement plan to put measures in place to ensure that the curriculum is implemented with fidelity, but also maintaining some possibility of teacher autonomy. The next part was focusing on the master schedule and the structure of the schedule. The suggestion was that there is not stated in the plan any checks and balances to ensure the quality of instruction when we are talking about the master schedule. And then the professional development, there was lack of consistency. So the final recommendations for all of it was we came up with some standard of a protocol, and the focus of the standard for the protocol was on professional development, because they felt like if we focus on professional development, that could encompass everything. That could take care of our issue with inconsistent curriculum. That could take care of our situation of the master schedule. That can take care of our situation as far as focusing on teachers and building the capacity of teachers through professional development. So if we focus on professional development, it would take care of, or it could take care of every root cause. And so they proposed that, first of all, that there are incentive goals. They also brought up the fact that years ago, the district used to mandate 21 hours of professional development, which the district kind of says that now, but years ago, there was consequences if you didn't do it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Now they just say you have to do it, but you know, we don't know how consistent everyone is across the district. So they were saying that we should go back to that. And there should be a comprehensive system of ongoing professional development throughout the year, which the district does offer some things, but there's a disconnect between the actual targets, the actual strategies, and you know, the professional development that's offered. First, the district should look at the structure. What do you want the consistency in curriculum to look like, first of all?
Mm-hmm.
And so once you analyze and figure out what that consistency looks like, then professional development should follow to ensure that not only are we giving this information, but we are modeling what it looks like, what the curriculum should look like in the classroom. And then we're holding some kind of progress monitoring so we can hold campuses and teachers accountable to what it looked like. They even suggested using artificial intelligence to assist with a rubric for teachers utilizing the see it, name it, do it model, so that when executive directors go on their learning walks to campuses, everybody will have the same rubric. Everybody will be assessed using the same standard. You know, of course, we don't, with the teacher autonomy piece, we don't want the curriculum to be a cookbook, but at the same time, there are certain components of the curriculum that should be expected across the board. So that was the proposal. The proposal, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think, so let me kind of comment on what you mentioned so far. I think the feedback you got about, you're right, thinking like a superintendent outside of a campus or principalship is great. It's kind of ironic that we're having this conversation now, because even this past week, there was a lot of discussion, and I'm going to say that the superintendent did have with executive directors about just staying the course and using our curriculum materials. And then the fact that there has been some test prep that has been seen on campuses. So as a superintendent, he's like, hey, I gave the direction. Why are we not following it 100%? Which kind of goes kind of where you're going, is that the root cause is we do have an inconsistent curriculum. Is there a way to ensure implementation across the board? Right? And what would that look like? What would that sound like? What is the role of the executive directors in that taking place, or even myself as the associate superintendent? To kind of piggyback on that, I've been, ever since that meeting, obviously today's Monday, I've been in campuses today with my eye on, all I'm saying is, am I seeing Amplify? Am I seeing Eureka? And I'm seeing Carnegie.
Okay.
And today wasn't a scheduled visit. So that's the other part. I said, you can show me. I mean, you're there about story. I'm still calling it about story. I know it's a new name, but
no, it's still about story. It's still about story.
Okay. So if I have a planned visit, I know that could be okay. I know they're coming, so here's what we're going to do. But when you just show up, it's like you see the exact same thing.
Right.
Right. So as a superintendent, it's like, hey, I'm going to just show up when I show up, and here's what I expect to see. As a principal, are you leading that? Are you not leading it? Are you following the direction of the district? I want to know how you feel, because you made a comment as far as the curriculum, that yes, we need to implement it across the board, but how can we also maintain teacher autonomy? So just what are your thoughts on that as far as when you're hearing that feedback from your meeting that you had?
My thoughts are, yes, stay the course with the good first instruction. Because and the reason why it's so easy for us to fall back on test prep is because that's the comfort zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there needs to be more professional development, more support as to what good first instruction looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And the expectation of what is and what's not. Because, for example, I'm gonna give you an example. What I told my teachers to do, actually, I hired a consultant to look at Amplify and look at Carnegie, and just take, for example, with Amplify, take those solos and some of those questions, let's tweak the questions to make them star aligned so that kids can get used to answering questions like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some campuses that may not have done that. And so they're probably having the kids they're interjecting some start questions. In my experience, the kids the kids know the answers, the answers. But if they're not used to a certain way that is asked or a certain structure, then that trips them up as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there needs to be some pieces along the lines of, if the superintendent will get teaching and learning to do what I'm having my consultant to do, go through the curriculum and create some star formatted questions that fit the readings. Not all of the questions, but some of them, because and throughout the year, that will give kids an opportunity to answer questions that are on the that are aligned to start. So, for example, all year long, my data has been great because we have been following how Carnegie, how Amplify asks the questions, right? Have been doing the solos or the assessments for Carnegie, the assessments for Amplify, and my data have been excellent. So we did a mock assessment. My data just dropped. And it's not that kids don't know the answers. It's because they're not used to answering questions along those lines. So there's some kind of disconnect between our curriculum and how students are tested. So I feel that the superintendent should lead the effort and say, okay, So yes, we want good first instruction, and to enhance our good first instruction, let's have our teaching and learning department go through this curriculum and integrate some star aligned questions so that kids can, be able to see and answer and respond to the tasks in a whole lot of, different settings or different scenarios.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you're talking, I mean, you also mentioned one thing, and it all goes back to, again, so teacher autonomy, and I think that's something, again, as a superintendent, you think about it. How much should you reward or say, if you are an A-rated campus or if you're the top of the, top performing campus, should you have the autonomy to do as you please? Or there are certain practices that we do as a district that are getting us the results. So should the expectation be everyone's using these practices? So I think that's a balance all the time that the superintendent has to kind of figure out. She uses this term. Are we a school system? Or are we a system of schools?
So the superintendent should mandate, specifically outline what she means and what she expects to see from this curriculum. Period. That way it won't be any confusion around that. And then the rest that she didn't outline, these are the things that you as a campus can have autonomy over. So now, in hindsight, because that wasn't necessarily done, it was stated, okay, yes, I want to see good first instruction, and I don't want to see any star prep. However, some things is up for interpretation. Some things, like if you go into some of my classrooms and you see some star line questions, you may assume that I'm using a star prep resource, but that's not the case. I'm using Amplify, but I had my consultant to look at the curriculum and integrate some questions that were star line. So I just think that it needs to be clearly defined, because I did also get out of a meeting, from my ED, and she was explaining to us as well, about what the superintendent saw, and she doesn't want to see it. Now, if they're just flat out just questions after questions and just teaching to the test, that's completely different. And they're just flat out just using the star resources and in lieu of teaching, that is just completely different. That's something that I've never agreed with. You don't just teaching questions, no, because students are not learning. We want to make sure students are learning.
And the other part is, again, the PD piece is huge too, because I think you mentioned at the end, that's one of the suggestions or recommendations they gave you. If we have the structure like we had it before, right? Here's the PD, here's a protocol, we're going to build capacity. If you rolled it out correctly, then you're right. You could take care of a lot of the things that you just mentioned, whether it is training on this curriculum, training on best practices, training on what is, and we have gone back and forth. I remember the 21 hours, right? You took the 21 hours. If you took the 21 hours and you had an entire week off for Thanksgiving, if you didn't, then Monday and Tuesday you had to be working.
And so those were pretty much it. So overall, what did you think about, the topic and the presentation?
No, I think you did a great job just kind of managing those conversations, getting that feedback. And I think that's the thing, just being open and receptive to the feedback, but also the focus, right? I mean, you stayed focused on root cause of really that inconsistent curriculum. Because I think with this, you could definitely get into where you get too much into the weeds, or you try to do too many things.
Right.
So I think it's really, really focused. And even as you kind of went through at the very end, I would say, what is the highest leverage? Everything that we talked about. And again, you already said it. And I think that's probably your biggest takeaway from my perspective is if we can get that PD correct.
Right.
That's going to take care of probably 90% of the concerns that were mentioned during the meeting.
Right. Okay.
Right. It's just, but really, so now it's taking that and digging a little bit deeper. What is that? I'm going to call it a scope and sequence, for lack of a better word. What is the scope and sequence for our district-wide professional development?
Right. Okay.
And again, and that's the other thing. So what do you mean by that? I mean, there's so many different content areas, so many different grade levels. Do we just focus on at least starting off with reading and math? Um, in the star areas, 3rd through high school, just reading and math and start in high school. Because again, it sounds like a daunting task. Now you're thinking, now you're doing science, you're doing social studies, you're doing pre-kinder, kinder, first, second, right, third, you go all the way to the gauntlet. And it's like, okay, right. See, that project can quickly get overwhelming. I mean, we have a whole department for professional development. So what should that structure be? What should that scope and sequence be? And then how do you lay it out for the rest of the year? Now, the other piece is you as a principal saying, okay, that district is doing this, but how do I now embed my principles into this conversation? So now it's married and not like, well, the district is doing this, I'm doing this. So what about those conversations as to ensuring principals understand what the plan is, principals understand the scope and sequence, or better yet, maybe like in this meeting, you had some different people come in and give feedback. Should we do the exact, like take one of these items and say, you know what, we're going to develop this a little bit more. We're going to focus on the PD and building a protocol so we can ensure that we're building capacity. So we're going to have a follow-up meeting just focused on PD, principals, community members, bring your best ideas to see what does that look like. And then start building that together. I think if you build it together with a lot of feedback, then you could definitely have something that could be something useful for the district as a whole to build that system. And again, and if it gets to daunting, we can just say, we're just going to focus on reading this year. We're going to get reading right. Here's what reading is going to look like. If this rolls out the way we need to, then we can extend it to math. So, but I think you did a great job with facilitating the meeting, just kind of leading. I think you had good energy too, right? You had good energy there with leading the different groups, great at building relationships. I know in the beginning you had everybody introduce themselves because you had different people that maybe not have known each other. Right. So I would say great job overall.
So if I only have one AP and I have one AP that's very skilled in ELAR and you have 2 APs or your one AP is very skilled in math, we can get together. We can, put forth an effort to work together so we can have PLCs together since we have the common master schedule. We can even create DOLs together. So just trying to see what things can we come to the table and say, hey, so you have this, I have this, and because we have this, we can kind of get together and we can do some things together instead of everybody continuing to be an island unto themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so that's what I want to, that's what I want my next one to be, just a planning session for the principals as well as the ILCs in our region. Even the ILCs can discuss how, they will support and come up with a.
And again, that's powerful. And that is also, again, putting all the heads together to solve a common problem. So definitely a good use of time and a relevant topic there to discuss.
Okay.
So.
Yes. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. I know you're trying to put out fires, and so I'm going to let you go at it, but I appreciate everything that you've done.
Let me know.
You're taking out for me.
Okay, well, let me know if there's anything else you need. Again, or if you need me to connect you with some other people, I'll be glad to.
Have some people that I do need to interview, and I'm going to send you an email letting you know I need to interview somebody, the chief of finance and things like that. But it's about 3 different people I need to interview. So
okay.
Okay.
Let me know. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.